43K Iceberg hits Tesla's stock price. That's 43,000 calls at the 800 level that are shaping the current direction of Tesla's stock. Is our story for today. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We're also joined by our prototype of the Semi, and glad to have it. We also want to thank you for joining us. If you enjoy the show, please take time to like and subscribe. And also, you may want to join us on Patreon for some really good trading ideas that have been popping up over the last few days, and folks have been doing very well with it. So today, today's story is kind of interesting. I was planning actually on doing a story about the fact that we have a new chart expert aboard our team, and I was really going to concentrate on some of the insights he's provided. And we found that we actually kind of had to give up that plan based on how things have traded out today. So on my way to do this one show, stock price started falling. I looked up one of the people that I check on regularly. His name is Squawk Square on Twitter. And he made a quick comment where he said there are 43,000 calls at 800 on Tesla. And as soon as I saw that, all of the trading that we've been seeing today completely made sense. So, for those of you who don't know what call options are, basically there are instruments called call options and put options. And one of the focuses of our show is something called pinning on Fridays. What is pinning? Basically, there's a ratio. If they're the same number of puts and calls on Fridays, the market makers have no interest in pushing the stock around either one way or the other. On the other hand, if there's a huge imbalance between puts and calls, whichever direction the most people would lose money is the direction that the market makers want to push the stock on Friday as we head into expiration. So, does it happen regularly? What we found is pretty much we got out of it around the S&P time frame, but we've kind of returned to the process recently. When I read that there were 43,000 calls at 800, I was like, oh my gosh. Tesla, in the last probably 3 years, I've never seen them have more than 20 or 25,000 calls. And so we know that when you have that many calls versus puts, the stock is going to go the opposite direction of the calls, as in down. Another component of this is the market makers have an interest to make sure they push the stock price down as much as possible, because you don't want sort of last minute things to sort of push the price of the stock back up, and then all of a sudden the efforts they made to pin the stock below get wiped out. And then in this case, there's actually another variable, which is at 720, there's actually 18,000 calls. So there's a further incentive there to even push the price of the stock lower as a way to even wipe out those who have calls at the 720 level as well. So it's my belief over the next 48 hours that Tesla stock price will be down. As we talked about last week, we expect the low point for the week to be just before options expiration on Friday. And then we expect the stock to sort of pop back up first 2 days of the week, Monday and Tuesday, in what seems like a constant pattern that has been happening about 70% of the Fridays over the last 2 years. So the other thing that's going on right now that's kind of interesting is that heading into Tesla's earnings on the 26th, it's really strange because next Friday, next Friday, I believe the 23rd, we also have a situation happening where there are actually 38,000 calls at 800 that expire next Friday as well. So I believe we're heading into a 2-week freeze Tesla stock price. And if you look 3 Fridays out, you'll notice that I only see 11,000 calls at that point. So my sense of things is that they can definitely control what happens for the next 2 Fridays, but it's very difficult to control Tesla within the 3-day rule confines we've discussed after earnings have been announced, because a lot of analysts will have time by the latter part of that 3rd week to really influence the stock up or down, and I think it's going to be really up. So my suggestion, thought process here is that if in fact you trade Tesla, you really want to be aware what the put-call ratio is, because what's happening there kind of shapes what's going to happen with the stock. And the closer we get to Friday, i.e. midday Thursday through Thursday afternoon into Friday morning, this is when we particularly get the most severe pressure to control the stock, to make as many people who hold call options insolvent and therefore make a killing in the process. So I would say right now, there's probably $5 or $10 billion on the table that says that the folks who control this will find a way to make sure that the stock price does not get above and stay above 800 by Friday of this week. Now, today is kind of an interesting day because yesterday we saw a strong first couple of days, and with the start of this morning was pretty decent, but all of a sudden we actually bounced way back down, away from heading to the 800 number. And so I literally was wondering, well, why was this happening? Because we have a new chartist aboard. He indicated that 746 as well as 825 are the resistance points for the stock. And so our expectation was, if there was going to be any issues for Tesla's rising, it was going to happen kind of at the 2 resistance points. You'll notice that as the stock price fell on Tesla, it kind of got to 246. So that's sort of the tipping point between pressure up and sort of pressure down. And so I believe that, the fact that we saw it get back down to the 45, 46 level, even 44, and then bounce back up is a positive sign about kind of where the stock is going in the short term. Now, if you're an investor, all of this is completely irrelevant. The fact is that the stock is doing well. It's generally up. We're heading into some strong earnings, I believe, in particular because it's not just the number of vehicles, it's the fact that with Model Y being 80% of sales, particularly coming from a Fremont, this all of a sudden puts us in a position where I think the revenue number is going to exceed expectation, and hopefully the profit number does as well. But this will really articulate the fact that Tesla is a great company and doing excellent things currently. So I'd have to say I called it Tesla hit an iceberg today, much like the Titanic. And the whole idea was that, hey, the stock was on the way to big things, and if there was a Monday or Tuesday where the market makers weren't in jeopardy, we'd probably still be getting some high prices. But currently, we kind of have all these forces that are battling each other to figure out what's going to happen. I really think that if you're one of the people who own the 43,800 calls, this might not be your best choice to stick around for this, because the power those guys will use to control the stock price will actually be felt, and therefore it behooves you to sort of stay out of harm's way, because there will be an effort to freeze the stock. The final thing I wanted to review today with you is that we've listed below 2 books. One is One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, and the other one is a book by Taleb. And it's called The Black Swan, or There's a Black Swan Moment. So one of the strategies that Taleb uses, and that I wanted to briefly discuss here, is that last Friday, we had a situation where we were a week away from obviously this Friday, and I went ahead and spent, it says $575, and bought a call option on Tesla. The call was at 740. The stock at that time, I believe, was in the 690 range. It actually had gotten up to 703, and then it sort of pulled back. So the logic of it is that part of Taleb's process is that you consider taking $200-300, buy a call option that's out $50, let's say, and then just wait on it. There are two possibilities. Number one, it could get wiped out and become worthless. The second possibility is that it could become hugely valuable. In this case, it was bought at $575, sold at $3,200 a piece after 2 days. Obviously, we got the benefit of the massive move after the upgrade on Monday from Canaccord, but I just wanted to note that the strategy is of a very small investment can sometimes work out very well. So if you do this 2 or 3 times and one of them works out, it kind of pays for the minimum amount you put in on a couple of these. And so it might be a strategy to consider because it actually could be very lucrative, particularly if you have changes like an upgrade that occurred in the case of Tesla in this situation. So I'd have to say that I'm really disappointed. I thought we were going to get over 800 today, but after I saw the put call ratio that we're rolling into on Friday, it's quite clear that not only are we not getting to 800, but there's a whole bunch of other strike prices at 50, at 720, that the market makers have an interest of trying to force the stock down into. And if they're successful, I think it causes a lot of folks, not including me because I got out, to lose money that otherwise would have come in had they not been colluding to push the stock price down. I know that a lot of folks are going to mention comments about this should be illegal, which I think it is, but the SEC has a lot to worry about, and this is one thing they don't seem that concerned about. And I hope that at some point there is something that's done to moderate how this all happens and works. So this is our formal end of our regular discussion. Prior to getting into our health tips, just wanted to remind you that please take time to like and subscribe. We're going to have a new charting component to all of our Patreon shows that I think will add a lot of value, and I think you'll benefit from it. So I'd encourage you to consider joining our Patreon group for that reason. We also have some SpaceX share access, so you may want to drop us a note on our Facebook page at Teslafaninsight as well. At any rate, for today's health tips, we do have many of the similar same. The first one is to look at taking elderberry with zinc. You may want to take a read about it. The liquid form is better than chewables, etc. It was suggested by our health professional. We also wanted to encourage you to consider eating a salad prior to lovemaking, because this will make sure that blood flow is minimal to the stomach, and therefore all that blood is available for other portions of the body. We also want to encourage you to consider not going to bed within 4 hours, ideal minimum 2 hours, to allow the food to digest prior to going to sleep, because this eliminates acid reflux and other issues that can pop up from this. We also wanted to encourage you, if you're a runner of some type, to try to do soft surfaces rather than hard ones, because the impact on backs and knees, particularly if you're above 6 feet, can be quite significant. I'm going to leave our health tips at that. We actually did get one other tip that I'm now trying out that thus far I think has worked pretty well, and that is to consider doing what's called forest bathing. And the whole idea is to get into nature for 5 to 10 minutes a day, walking or whatever you're doing, as a way to allow the peacefulness of nature to sort of blend into what you're doing, and you may find that that nature experience helps to improve the quality of your experience with life. At any rate, again, wanted to remind you to please like and subscribe. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss German, au revoir French, Lahitrot, Hebrew, Choda Hafez Farsi, Zdravstvuyte Russia, Ni hao ma Chinese, Konbanwa Japanese, Ni hao ma Japanese, I'm sorry, Chinese, Namaste Hindi, good day, our friends in Australia, Hey Do Swedish, and in Jamaica we say Nuff Respect Walk Goodman. Thanks for joining us today. Best of luck in your trading and investing for the rest of the week. And I guess at this point we're looking forward to our Monday good day rather than the downdraft we're getting right now. Again, we look forward to constructive comments so we don't have to delete the ones that you put in. And it's appreciated if you're civil, because we're all learning and trying to improve the quality of the information that we all know. And therefore, being pleasant would be appreciated. Have a great day. Bye for now. And thanks again for joining us.